This is Dan Bidondi, and welcome to a special report on Infowars.com. And today we're going to be talking about the firearm. Should they be legal or should they be outlawed? That's the question we want to ask today. And today we're coming from a constitutional point of view, and we're reaching out to all you liberals and all you conservatives as well, Republicans and Democrats. We're coming to you from the Constitution point of view. And regardless how you feel right now, should guns be outlawed or should they not? That's the question, because we know the United Nations is hell-bent on taking away the Second Amendment of the Constitution. As they openly state in their Small Arms Treaty, how they want to abolish the Second Amendment of the Constitution. And we're not only targeting Obama, folks, we had mainstream Republicans as well who are hell-bent themselves on trying to take our guns away. And so it's not just Democrats, it's the Republicans as well. Even though on the front that Mitt Romney said, he wants to support your gun rights, but he wants to abolish them as well because he's a globalist, same as Obama. Now, we're not here to argue Republican or Democrat because we don't favor either side. We're not for Obama, we're not for Mitt Romney, either one of them. But we are here for is for you and the Constitution. Now, however, again, guns, people think they're so dangerous, they kill people. No. Guns don't kill people, folks. Guns, if it wasn't for guns, folks, we wouldn't have a country today. We wouldn't have a beautiful republic of the United States today. And we got mainstream media people attacking gun rights. You got this guy, John Allen Paulus, he's a journalist for ABC News. He's reporting that, do concealed guns reduce crime? Now he goes on to say that economist says guns deter criminals, but it's not that simple. More guns, less crimes sounds like an oxymoron. Now, this guy, obviously, he's against guns. No doubt about that. He's trying to say more guns, less crimes is an oxymoron, which is, in this case, he's wrong, dead wrong. We're going to prove that today. And we got a couple of videos, first of all, before we get to the videos, I want you to really sink this in. You hear all the propaganda on TV, the United Nations, both Republicans and Democrats calling to abolish your guns. Guns are dangerous. They show gun crimes all over the place, but they don't show you the stats. That's the thing. And again, we're not conservative. We're not liberal media. We're called constitutionalist independent media. That's what we are. And we don't take favor from either sides. So again, you got the mainstream media. You got some conservatives, some Democrats, all calling to abolish guns, especially the United Nations. Oh, guns are bad. But today, we're going to show you, actually, we're going to go to two of the videos right now. This first video shows you how guns, and the second video too, how guns actually save lives. Let's go to those videos.
New tonight at 11, a wild shootout on Detroit's west side has left a suspected car thief dead tonight. Police say the man tried to carjack a father and his family at the Citgo station at Finkel and Schaefer this evening. The driver, who had a concealed weapons permit, pulled out his gun. The two fired several shots at each other. The father was hit in the leg and the face. He is in serious condition tonight. The suspected thief died at the scene.
It was just a normal day at the Palms Internet Cafe in Marion County. You can see the customers chatting and playing their games. But they were interrupted by these two men. Watch as deputies say Davis Dawkins and Dwayne Henderson come in and wave a gun, pointing it right at the customers asking for valuables. But just seconds later, someone steps in. Look at the right of your screen. A man running with a gun, firing at the suspects. From another angle, look at the guys in black clothing with masks, one with a gun, the other with a bat. You see them, and then you don't. The next time they come into view, one of them is diving on the ground. The man, 63-year-old Samuel Williams. He's right behind them, firing. They leave. Williams, calm as can be, locks the door and waits for police. When questioned by detectives, he said he was with his wife at that cafe and was afraid they were going to shoot someone. He told them he was scared. And you wonder, did he hit either of the guys? He sure did. Marion County detectives found them at the hospital, both with gunshot wounds.
So there you go. Williams, however, will not be charged. Dawkins and Henderson, they are being charged with attempted robbery.
Now, as you can see, if it wasn't for that father having a gun, his family could have been kidnapped. Anything could have happened. Their lives could have been in danger. In the second video, a guy marches into an internet cafe, a couple of guys, and try to hold up the place, and it could have been deaths. But if it wasn't for that man who was carried and concealed, God knows what could have happened. So, I mean, we're going to get to some graphs and charts now. And first of all, we're going to show you some statistics that, again, the federal government and the United Nations don't want to show you. And this is going to show you how dangerous guns really are. First graph we're going to show you, it's an average firearms per 100 people. Now take a good look at this chart. Scan to this whole chart here, and you're going to see that the United States has 70 to 100 guns per 100 people. I myself own several guns, and so does a lot of people I know. And the United States clearly has more guns than probably the entire world put together when it comes to the citizens. Now people say, oh, that's why we have more crimes. Well, let's move on to the second chart. And we're going to show these charts again at the end of the show so you can see and comprehend what we're talking about. Now the second chart, called global gun deaths. Now look at the United States, it's in red. It's medium, 1 to 5, that's per 100,000 in the population. Now look at the areas that guns were outlawed. They have more crime with guns, more deaths with guns, than areas that guns are allowed. And let's go back to the first chart to compare them. And as you can see, the United States has more guns, and you got all Asia and Asia, Russia, and Europe that outlaw guns. But let's go to the next chart again, and as you can see, there's more global gun deaths than the United States. Now, the United States is medium, 1 to 5, but what's going on is the crime rates are dropping, folks. This is on record. The crime rates in the United States are dropping. And the reason why, it's not because we got better law enforcement. It's not because people, becoming nicer. The reason why, okay, is because the United States has more guns. And we're going to prove it to you right now. Before you turn this off, we're going to prove it to you right now. Because during the affairs of these elections, regardless if it was Obama or Mitt Romney, okay, gun sales have been through the roof. And we got Infowars.com and Prison Planet reporting gun sales surged in fear of Obama re-election. Now again, we're not targeting just Obama, we're targeting both globalist puppets, Republicans and Democrats. And the first chart on here, you see Obama versus Romney and Obama versus McCain. And you can see through the years how the gun sales have surged in an astronomical rate. And the next chart we got is from Smith & Wesson gun sales. How they show that their sales have been through the roof. And that's one of many other gun manufacturers. And it's also why the United States is dropping in crime rate. People, how could you say that? How could the United States be dropping in crime rate? When in Chicago and parts of New York, the crime's actually expanding. Well, you're right on that. But on the overall base, the crime in the United States is dropping. And the reason why places like Chicago, and take this Chicago and parts of New York, the crime rates are going through the roof is because those are the most two cities that are the most strictest on guns. You can't even own a shotgun in some of those places. That's why the crime rates are going through the roof. But on the whole, as CNN reports, U.S. violent crime down for the 5th straight year. And this is the United States on the whole, not just cities. And we're going the thing is about the cities, folks. There's many cities in the United States that have guns, allow guns, and ones that don't. But the ones that don't, you could check this out for yourself. Those cities that don't have an exploding crime rate. But on the overall, the United States is dropping in crime rate. And you got the New York Times reporting the same thing. The steady decline in major crimes are baffling experts, reporting in the New York Times. Then you got the Christian Science Monitor reporting that the U.S. violent crime rate down for the 5th straight year. And right from the FBI, folks, FBI.gov is reporting crime rates decline. And as you can see the graph right on the article here, it shows a huge decline in crime rates. And another FBI article from usnews.com reporting that FBI violent crime rates approach historic low. That's right. Crime rates, folks, are approaching an historic low. Because, and as you can see, we showed you in that graph, folks, that gun sales are through the roof, and Americans own more guns than anybody in the world. And that's why the crime rates are dropping. And there's another article from The Guardian reporting that America's serious crime rate is plunging. But why? Because Americans own more guns, and Americans are buying out guns, and it's wrecking numbers of sales, folks, exploding through the roof for people buying guns. And you got State of the City 2012 reporting, this is from Tampa, Florida. Tampa's crime rate continues to decrease, and as you can see the chart from 2002 to 2011, how the crime rate is dramatically decreased. And another reason why, because of that, folks, is because you're allowed to carry guns. I mean, you're allowed to own guns, I'm sorry. And, people don't see this. They say, oh, guns are dangerous, we should outlaw them. Well, folks, there's scores of stories, scores of news articles. Just go to YouTube, type gunman saves cop, gunman saves family, guns save lives. There's many websites that state that. The National Rifle Association, Gun Owners of America, they got tons of stories how guns actually save lives. I mean, stories off the top of my head. These people broke into these people's houses, and they tied up the parents and the kids, and there was a little girl, 7 years old. She was a skeet shooting champion, and she grabbed the rifle and came down and killed the two intruders and saved the lives of the parents. I mean, there's so many of these stories, folks. In Detroit, which they don't post it anymore, when the carjacking rate was through the roof, was the #1 carjacking rate in the country, they started giving permits, concealed weapons permits to women. The carjacking rates dropped at a record low. Then when the permits were revoked from the new attorney general, all of a sudden carjacking rates went through the roof again. The thing is, folks, this right here. This puts the fear of God into criminals. And I'm going to use a little example here. Just say you're in a bank. Okay? Now, guns are outlawed. Nobody's allowed to carry guns, not even cops, like in the UK, not even security guards or nothing. Okay? A guy walks in, criminals, the thing is, folks, criminals are always going to have guns. We can outlaw guns now, as we showed in the graphs here. We're going to show it again in a minute. We can outlaw guns, but the thing is, criminals will still always have them. Outlawing guns only takes guns away from legal gun owners. That's all it does. It doesn't take guns off the street. But just say you're in a bank, a criminal walks in. It's 40, 50 people in the bank. He's like, takes out his gun, give me your money. Everybody's like, oh my God, he's got a gun. Hand him the money, And, but now, let's reverse this. Now, guns were back in 1776, back in the 1800s, when every citizen was allowed to carry a gun. You didn't have to have a permit. All you had to do was be a U.S. citizen, and you were allowed to carry a gun. Now, let's take that scenario today. Now, you're in a bank, 40, 50 people. Now, this criminal, even 3 of them, 4 or 5, whatever, they walk into a bank, give me your money. You know what? It's going to be a different story this time, because 40 to 50 people, bank tellers, the security, and the regular customers, they're going to turn around and say, no, you get to the ground. We're not giving you nothing. So you can see the difference, folks. Yes, there's plenty of accidents with guns. But you know what? To say that, there's accidents every day. Thousands of accidents a day with cars. Thousands of pounds of aluminum and steel driving down the road. People have no fear of them because they're used to it. They cause massive amounts of deaths, folks. So let's outlaw all cars then. How about you alcohol drinkers? It's on record that they cause thousands of deaths a week. Alcohol does. So let's outlaw alcohol. Let's outlaw cigarettes. Let's outlaw everything. Let's outlaw knives because we got a lot of accidents. People stabbing each other or whatever. So let's outlaw everything. Let's outlaw electricity because electricity kills people. So let's outlaw that so we don't have TV or nothing. But the thing is, folks, this right here is the most important thing you could have besides the Constitution. And the reason why I'm saying this for, and we're going to go again, before we go to the quotes here, I want to show you one more time the charts. This chart here is showing you that the United States has more guns than any other country. Now look at the other countries as well. Then now let's go to the next chart. Now the countries that don't allow anybody to carry guns, they have more crimes, 10 times more crimes with guns than countries who do allow guns. So as you can see, folks, Second Amendment is in danger. And I want to give you a couple of quotes from our founding fathers. Firearms are second only to the Constitution in importance. They are the people's liberty's teeth, quoted by George Washington. And another George Washington quote, a free people ought not only to be armed and disciplined, but they should have sufficient arms and ammunition to maintain a status of independence from anyone who might attempt to abuse them, which would include their own government. Now, as you can see, folks, our founding fathers warned us. I mean, there's several quotes by Thomas Jefferson, Patrick Henry, and so on, warning us and with quotes and whatnot to say, you know what, we need the guns. We need to protect our Second Amendment. We need to protect our future. And we're not calling for violence by all means, because people who have guns, their own guns, like myself, our worst fear, our worst dreaded fear is to actually use it. We don't want to use it. We want peace. We want to keep peace. But the thing is, if you give up your guns, folks, like Benjamin Franklin quoted, those who would give up their essential liberties for temporary security, you'll get neither or deserve neither. And that's the truth, folks, because if the UN takes our guns away, we're done for. I mean, tyranny will rise all over this country, and the United States will be no longer a republic. And I want to quote two more quotes, one from John F. Kennedy. By calling attention to a well-regulated militia, the security of the nation, and the right of each citizen to keep and bear arms, our founding fathers recognized the essential civilian nature of our economy. The Second Amendment still remains an important declaration of our basic civilian-military relationships, in which every citizen must be ready to participate in the defense of his country. For that reason, I believe the Second Amendment will always be important. John F. Kennedy. And one more quote, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state for the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's the Second Amendment by Patrick Henry. And as you can see, folks, our Second Amendment is under attack. Now, you need to swallow your liberal pride, your conservative pride, and you need to start learning the spirit of 1776. Start learning who our founding fathers was. Start learning who the great people who were, took part in forming this country, the United States. And again, we're not calling for violence, folks. But folks, you give this up, you might as well burn your flag. You might as well just surrender. Surrender everything, because the day the United States gives up all their guns is the day when the United States becomes a tyrannical playing ground of the New World Order. And this is Dan Bidondi for the special Infowars.com report.